So from epic, legendary. If we keep adding, you can see master, right? Okay, hello everyone. How you guys doing? It's Niger Coder here, and today I have an amazing project for you guys. It's a hamster clone. If you guys are aware of Hamster, it's a Telegram mini app that used to be very popular. People go on it and tap 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 tap. So I have a clone for it, and I can't wait to share it for you guys. We're going to be building both the app, the mini app, and also the admin panel, so you can use to control the mini app. Okay, guys, it's going to have tags. It's going to be packed with so many features. Let me show you guys a quick demo. All right, so over here on Telegram, you can see I have the bullish market cap bot. If I press start, it's going to show me to launch the app. When I do launch the app, you can see we have a little loading animation, which looks awesome, by the way. Once it's loaded, you can see my profile here. I'm on the platinum level for the 4th level out of 10. And so if I click on this picture, you can see it's increasing my points. I'll also show you the offline version where we'll be able to see the other levels and how this image here will change if you're increasing your level. Okay, you can see I can just tap 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 and go. We also have some tags here which the user can do, joining a Telegram group, following them on Twitter, and then once they've done that, they just press done and they get rewarded with the extra points. Okay, you can also use the ranking to see who is on the top of the list. As you can see here, I'm on the top of the list. I have half a million points, and here in airdrop we can see like a little plan of how the airdrop is being done, because mostly these tapping apps are used for airdrops, guys. So you can see first they launch the app, allow users to gain points, participate in tags, award airdrops. Okay, then you can see on my profile here the amount of points I've earned, the users I've referred, and then I can share them my referral link over here. So copy it and share it to other people. You can see there's also a section for adverts. If I hover on it, it will pause so that you can also show adverts to the users as they are using the tapping app. Okay, so it's a really clean app. It's really nice. It's just awesome, and I'm going to be showing you guys how to build it from scratch. Okay, I have the link to the starting code. We're going to be using the starting code, so I'm just going to close this. This is the starting code. Let me just this. All right, so this is the starting code. The link to this GitHub is in the description below. Then also the link to the admin panel starting code is also in the description below. And I need you to clone the repository. Let's get started. Okay, now also if you want to get the final code, let's say you want to code along, or maybe you don't want to code along, or you know you're going to make a bit of errors, you want to make sure you have the final copy to match exactly with what you are doing. I also have the link for that in the description. Please make sure you try and get the final code, guys. It really helps support the channel. And last and not least, make sure you like and you subscribe, guys. Also, you also want to see the admin panel. I'm going to show you guys the admin panel. Let me see, how do I get the admin panel now? Just a minute. Okay. All right, so this is the admin panel. I think I crashed the admin panel. Okay, hold on. Let me just launch it on my local app. Let's leave this. Okay, so this is the admin panel, guys. You can see over here, you can see the total number of users, the active tags that is on, banned users, known. So this is the dashboard. You can also see the user ranking. You can see all the users, the date at which they joined, all the users that are using the Telegram mini app. You can see active tasks. For here we have 4 active tasks. This one gives 500 points. This one gives 150 points, 100, 100. We can also create a task, watch YouTube videos, subscribe to YouTube channel, follow Twitter account, title of the task, the link, the task, the link to the task, and then the amount of points you want rewarded for the task. Okay. Then we also have manage ads. This section is all the advertisements you are seeing on the app. So here you can change it. So it's really, really nice. let me show you guys a quick demo, but I know you guys want to see that demo. Let's just change this banner to something that I have over here. Start close. So submit. Just put link here, and you can see it's submitting. Okay, so banner updated successfully. So if we check the mini app, we launch the app. And we can see the banner over here. Okay, so that's what we're doing. It's really awesome. So we're going to be coding this thing from scratch. So make sure you clone the repository, and let's get started. I'm also going to increase the font over here so you guys can see this properly. So I'm just going to clear this, and I'm going to say npm run dev. Okay, so if you do npm run dev, then we're going to go to localhost 3000, and you're going to see something like this. Okay, so we just have some start out code just to make you follow along the video easier. But before we do all of this, we need to set up our backend, the database. So once you've cloned the repository, you're going to have to create a .env.lookout file, like I have done here with this configuration. Next public, but this is the bot ID, this is site URL, and these are other variables that we need, and we also need https true. Okay, so how did I get all of this? It's very simple. I'm going to show you guys how to set up the database. All right, so once you come to Firebase, Firebase data store, if you're not familiar with Firebase, I have a video that properly shows you how to connect your React code with your Firebase database. So I'm going to put that video up here so you guys can go and watch it. Once you've set up your Firebase, it's very easy. Just set up an easy console. You're going to go over to your project settings. Okay, when you go over to your project settings, you're going to pick web app. And once you've picked your web app, as you can see here, I have my web app. You're just going to pick something this web app. Okay, so once you've selected that, you're going to have these variables given to you. Okay, so as you can see, mine is here. So you're going to use that for here. You can see this is API key, auth domain, project ID, storage bucket, messenger sender ID, app ID. Okay, so it's very, very simple. So once you have that set up, you're going to click on Firestore database, just set it up and accept everything. It's very, very easy. Nothing really difficult at all. We're going to create 4 collections. As you can see, I have 4 collections. So you're just going to click start on collections and type each collection name, say next, and then the first one you're just going to do auto and then save. Okay, so you can see I have my ads, I have my referrals, I have my tasks, and I have my users. Okay, so make sure you have that set up. Okay, guys. So your ads, in your ads section, in your ads collection, you're going to want to create a document. You can see the title of my document. The reason this is important is that in our lib, okay, so when you create your ad collections, you're going to create a new document. The ID of this document, you want to go over to your fetch user.ts inside the database, inside the lib file, and you're going to change this to whatever document ID you have here. So you can see this. You're going to take whatever you have in yours and put it here. Okay, or simply when you create your collection ads and you're adding a document, you can just take this here, copy it, and put it here. Okay, and save. Okay, it's not saving because I already have one that is like that. So you can just easily take this and create a document with this exact settings. I think that will be much better for you. So once you've done that, you're going to in the document, you're going to create a map, a banner 1 map with link logo, you can put anything you want in the logo, you can put anything you want in the link. You're going to create another one map for banner 2, link and logo, another map for banner 3, link and logo, another map for banner 4, link and logo. The reason why we're creating this is that they are the banners that we are showing in the display, the small advert section. That's what we're showing. Okay, so you just have to create this to match whatever you're doing. Okay, so then you create another collections referrals. Once you create this collection, you don't need to create any other document. Just create the collection referrals. That's all you have to do. You don't have to bother about creating anything like this, because this one we're just imputing things into it. So just make sure you create the collection referrals, and that's all. Then you create another collection task. You don't have to do anything here. Just make sure you create a collection task. Okay, then you create another collection users. You don't have to add anything here. Just make sure you create that collection users. Okay guys, so that's just what you have to do, and you are basically set up. Okay, so once that is done, I'm going to come over here and close this, and I want us to kickstart this. And since we are done with everything in our database, we're just going to say local host 3000, and you can see we have the setup that we want. Okay, you can see matches exactly. Okay, so I'm just going to close this so we can get started. So the first thing, our main page, is our site over here. So we can see we're currently with home components, but before we get any of this done, we want to check our wrapper component. Okay, so you can see in our layout we have bottom bar, our top bar, and we have our layout wrapper. Okay, okay, so I've imported everything already, so that we don't have to really write too much. Okay, so now, for example, when a user opens up our page on the Telegram, right? When a user opens up the app, launches the app on the Telegram, we need to check details of this user. We need to get the user's username, and then we need to get the user's ID. We just need to get details of the user. We need to first of all check, has this user accessed our app before? If they've accessed it before, we need to create an account for them, so that anytime they log back in, they come back on the app, we check, do we have this user on the database? Do they have points? If they do, we fetch those details and display. If they don't, we create a new user in our database for them. Okay, which allocates their points to them. So that's what we are doing when users first of all open or launch this app. Okay guys, so what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to close this and let us continue what we're saying. Okay, so when the user opens it, the first thing we're going to do is, you can see over here, we're going to check the window on define return. Let its mount is true. Then we're going to say initialize user. This, we're going to initialize the user, right? So we're going to say, and also the packages that we're using have all been installed. Let me just show you a brief of the packages before we continue. This is the SDK we are using for the Telegram to access it on Telegram. When we are done with the app, you'll not be able to load it on the website on a normal browser, because it will first of all check your Telegram ID, your username. If it doesn't get all of that, if you notice you're not launching it from Telegram, it's not going to open. Okay, so this is what we're using to do that, this SDK right here. Okay, so we're also using firebase, lucide-react for icons, and recoil for state management, and MarQ for our advert slider. Those are the major packages that we are using for this. We're also going to be using Tailwindcss and this UI. Okay, and we're also using TypeScript, if you guys have noticed. Okay, so let's get started. So over here we're saying initialize user. We're going to say if window return, then we're going to say try catch error. Okay, so in this try, we're going to say constant default web app equals to await import this SDK. Okay, so once we've gotten that, we're going to say constant user equals to web app init data on safe. Okay, so over here we're getting the details of this user. All right, so when we get details of the user, we're going to say if there's nothing in this user, we're going to say true new error. Okay, we're going to say unable to fetch user data from Telegram. Okay, so we have not yet called this function. That's why I not get any error here. Once we call this function, it's going to give us an error. Let's try it. Okay, it's not giving us an error. Okay, I think that's because our loading is still true. I think we have to change the loading to false first. Okay, what we're going to do, we're just going to close this and we're just going to write the logic of it, and then once we're done, we're going to explain it all. Okay, guys, so what we're not doing here, we're saying that if we can't get anything from the user, we're going to say unable to fetch user data from Telegram. Then we're going to say if it's mounted, we're going to say constant firebase user ID equals to await verify user. And here we're going to say the user.id, user.first name, and user.last name, and user.username. Okay, then we're going to go up here and we're going to work on our verify user. So this verify user is saying what we're trying to do here is that, okay, we've gotten the details of this user, the user ID. We usually get a user ID, first name, last name, and username. We're also going to check that, okay, now that we've gotten these details, let's verify if this user is actually on our database. If they're not on our database, we need to create an instance in the database for them. What do I mean by we need to create an instance for them? Let me show you. Okay, so in the database, why did I close that? Let me just come here, history. Okay. Okay, so over here in our users, we have multiple users, right? We have this user who is Noni YG. So you can see we have users, we have their boost XG, we have their first name, their last name. Sometimes their last name is not there. We have their username, we have their user ID, we have their task completed IDs, the tasks they have completed, we have their points, we have their referred user ID, and some details over here. So if the user is not in this place, we need to create an instance for them. So that's why we are saying verify user. We need to check details of this user, right? So let's continue. So over here, we're going to say try. I'm going to say catch error. Okay. So in our try, we're going to say constant response equals to await fetch API user status. Okay, so we're checking this API, our API route here. So fetch user, users. Okay, yeah, user status. This route. So we're going to work on this route, okay? But let us finish with this call that we're making here. So we're going to say this, and we're going to say this is a method post. Okay. Then we're going to say headers. Okay. Content type application / JSON. Then we're going to say body, and we're going to stringify the user ID, the first name, last name, and the username. Okay, so that's what we're doing. So let's go to this user status here and work on it. Okay, so now in here, when the post request gets called, we're going to say try. Okay, let's say catch error. Okay, so here now we're not going to say let's get those things that we stringified: the user ID, the first name, last name, username. Okay, await request JSON. Okay, so once we've gotten that, we're going to say if there's nothing in the user ID, all right, throw new error. There may be nothing in the first name, last name, or username. Some users have they don't display their username, or they have their privacy set to high privacy, so we may not be able to fetch those details, but we must always get a user ID. With that user ID, we can always identify any user, no matter how many times they change their username or whatever. As long as we have the user ID, we have our chat with that user. Okay, so we'll throw an error if we don't get it and say the user ID not specified. Okay, then we now come down here and we say let user exist. Okay, this is either a boolean or a string. Okay, so we're going to say await check user exist user ID. So we're checking if the user exists, and we have a small function here to do that. So in this function, we're saying try catch error. You know, I used JavaScript for so many years and I never used try and catch. But once I learned try and catch, I always started using try and catch. So always be ready to learn new things, guys. So over here, we're querying the collection. We're creating the collection in the database. And we're creating the collection of users, and we're checking where user ID equals to this ID that we have. How are we checking? How are we querying the database? Very simply, we have a firebase. Hold on. We have a firebase file here that has a connection to our database with our API key, auth domain, project ID, storage bucket, messages sender ID, and app ID. With this, we have a connection to our database, and we can query the database in the collection users, and we can check where in these users do we have an ID, user ID that is equal to this user ID that we have right here. Okay, so with that, we'll now say constant query snapshot get docs, and then say if there's nothing in the query snapshot. Okay, then we're saying constant doc equals to query snapshot dot docs. Okay, and then we're saying return doc dot ID. So if the query snapshot is not empty, we're going to just take the first, because it always comes in an array. We're going to take the first thing in that array, and we're going to return it with the document ID. That is going to be our Firebase ID, the unique identifier in the database. What do we mean by that? Because over here, in these are our users, all these are our users, right? And each of them has a unique database identifier, which is our Firebase, going to be our Firebase ID. Okay, so they have their user ID, and we have our own way of tracking them with our Firebase ID. Okay, so those are the two identifiers we're really using with our users. Okay, so if we're not able to find anything, we're just going to return false, and that's why we have it set to be boolean or string. So if it's boolean, we're getting false. If it's a string, we're getting the ID of the user, right? So over here, catch error. Then here we're going to say console Okay, just a little error log so we know where the error is coming from. Okay, so then we're going to also return false. Okay. All right, so now that we've returned false, over here we're going to check. We're going to see if this is false. If it is false, right, we want to say user exists equals to await create user document. Okay, so if we don't find the user in the database, we have to create an instance for them because this is their first time of signing up. We don't want users to open our mini app and then have to, type in anything. We just want them immediately they're opening the mini app, they've already been signed up. They've logged in automatically. They don't need to any login or sign up process. Okay, so if they've opened the app for the first time, they will not have an entry in the database. Then we have to create an entry for them so that once they have that entry, they have their details saved. Anytime they come back to the app, we just fetch their details from the database. So whatever points they have accumulated, we get those points and display it to them. Okay, so over here we're going to give it everything that we have. And this create user document, how is it? I already have this for you guys so we don't overdo too many things. We're just simply adding a document to the users collection ref, which is the collection of our users, and then we're adding these things there. Now we're adding some default things like the points. So whenever users first access our ID, they are given 100 points as a default, and their boost xg is 1, active is true, and the dates that they joined. Okay, so let's go back. Okay, so over here we're now going to say if it's not exists. So if we're not able to create it, if we get false, because our function here returns false if anything happen, we're just going to say true new error and say unable create user document. All right, so after this we're going to say return next response dot json user exists and a message. Okay, so over here I'm not going to say come. So okay, so that's perfect. So in our verify user, once we've done that, we can now see if the response, right, dot okay. So here we retrieve the user exists and the message, and then we make sure we have this type, user status response, type is up. Okay, okay, yeah, it's in our types. So I also put in some types here for us. All right, so over here, okay, so in case we're not able to create or able to find user, we need to also tell that. Then here we return the user exists. Okay, so in our catch error, we're just going to say console error and set the error to fail to verify user and return null. So if we go back, okay, so I wait. Okay, so now we're fetching the game details of the user. Okay, so we're going to fetch the other details that the user has, like their points. If we are able to create the user, so over here the user was not found on the system. So if they're not found on the system, this is if we don't find a user base ID, we throw an error and we show there's an error occurred. So if no error occurs and we're able to see that yes, this user does exist, we also need to fetch the game details, because after we've created let's say the user didn't exist and they just opened the app for the first time and we did create their details, right? We also need to fetch those details, because the verified user was only to check and log them in. Once they are logged in, we need to fetch and retrieve their points and everything. Okay, so we need to fetch their game details. All right, so we need to work on that now. So fetch their game details. So what we're going to do here, we're going to create another try. And oh yeah, we're going to say constant response equals to await fetch, and it's going to slash API slash fetch slash user details. Okay, so in our our fetch user details route, okay, so we're just going to create a little try catch error. So over here we're just getting the firebase ID, and we are querying the user's database, the user's collection with this firebase ID, and we're just getting a snapshot of the document, and then we're returning that. And if we're getting an error, we're returning data has nothing and error has true. So when we go back, okay, so now that we're back here and we've gotten that details, okay, I'm going to say constant get the data. So over here, we're going to say if error is true, error fetching game details. And then after we do that, we are going to, as you guys know, we are using use recoil state. And let me show you guys our state. So in our state here, we have our user state. This is the default of what they get, and we're basically using this dummy data right now so that our code works, because we cannot, if we remove this and uncomment this is supposed to be what we're using. So like if we want this to work on the Telegram app, in the Telegram app in itself as a mini app, we are supposed to comment this and then uncomment this. But because we are testing in a browser, this is not the Telegram environment, it will crash. So that's why we've commented this, and we're using this dummy data. Because if this was live, if we had commented this and uncommented this thing will crash, because it cannot fetch the Telegram details, because this is a browser, this is not the Telegram environment. So we're going to just be working with it like this, with this dummy data for now, so that we can just see our code working. Then when we are done, we'll now make it work live and then set it up live, and then you'll be able to see it. Okay, so that's what we're working with right now. So in our fetch data, now we're going to set the game data. Set game data. So we have just some things here. The points to add for them is 11 when they click, and then profit per hour 5,000. Okay, so this is very, very simple. Set error is error. Why is it showing error? Unknown. Okay, error here. Okay, so perfect. So here we're setting the task data, and we're also setting the game data over here. All right. So that we've done with that, let's go back to our initialize user. So after we've gotten the we've fetched the game details, then we can just set the user data to be this. Okay. So here we can announce say catch error and say console log this error. And then after that, we're going to say finally, we're going to say set timeout. Reason why setting timeout is because we want the animation, that small animation that we have, to like display a bit before we off the loading. I'm going to set this to 4 seconds. All right, perfect. So right here, we're just going to say set loading to be false. Okay. Now, if we want this to work in the live setting, to uncomment this, which is going to be initialize user. So this is definitely going to happen. This error is definitely going to happen because we're in a browser setting. We're not in a Telegram app setting. So we're just going to comment that for now. All right. So over here, we say if loading, going to return loading spinner, and here we're going to say if error or there's nothing in user data .telegram ID, return error component. But we're going to remove this. All right, so sorry about that. We have everything set up now. Perfect. All right, so we have our wrapper set up. Now we can work on the app itself. Okay, so let's go to the site page, home components. Okay, perfect. Okay, so here I have just some data set out. Just hide this. So we have our advert slider over here. You can see it's just set in loading because we have not worked on this. We'll definitely work on this. But let's work on the other things first. The points display with animation. Okay, I'm just going to paste that. So this was displaying our points. You can see it's a bit animated. If we reload this, so you can see we have 0 currently. So the main character with the sliding effects. Whoa. We have 11,000. Is that supposed to be 11,000? On click, handle card click. Points to add. Okay, in our states, how many points do we have? Okay, we have 11,000 here. Okay, that's super perfect. I can show you guys how this works. Okay, now you can see we're in level 0, right? You can see we're in bronze, right? So I'm going to change this to just 1,000. If we click this, no, it hasn't reflected. Okay, 1,000. So you can see we're in bronze level. Well, now we're in silver level. You can see the image changes. If we continue clicking, you can see the image changes and we're in gold. Now I'm going to increase the points to 11,000. Gold, platinum. So here, I'm just going to add another 0. Refresh this. Okay, so you can see diamond level, epic level, and then I'm going to add another 0 here. Refresh this, save. Okay, so from epic, legendary. If we keep adding, you can see master, right? So I'm going to add another 0 and just refresh this. So master, you can see it's changing, and then we have grandmaster. Are we going to be able to reach it? I'm tapping my life away, man. Come on. Reach 1 billion. And then you have Lord. You have Lord. So you can see it is working very well. So we're going to change this back to 11 points because that 1,000 points is too much. Okay, so we have that set up. That works now. Great. Then start card. Okay, so we have some stats here. The end, how much we earn per tap, and our boost XG. So that is set up very well. Make sure you just follow along as I'm putting this code, okay? All right, so we're done with the home component. The next one is the task. As you can see, nothing is showing here. What we want to go to and do is go to this task here and open this. Checking out this task component. What's this page? What's this page? Earn. So earn component. All right, perfect. Okay, so our first component here is fetch tags. Let's try and fetch those tags, okay? So I'm just going to paste this. So what we're doing here, okay, no. All right, so what we're doing here was saying if the task data dot game task dot length equals to 0, don't mind this console fish, it was just me testing something. Okay, so we're going to fetch this API route, and in this API we have fetch, we have task. So you can see our task here doesn't have anything, so let's work on that. Okay, so over here what we're simply doing is that we're just querying the collection of tasks in our database, and we're getting a snapshot of the document, and then we're mapping the document, and then we're returning the document. So if we're unable to fetch it, we're console logging the error, and we're returning nothing in our data component, and we're returning error true. So back in our index, when we fetch from the API route, we throw an error in case the response was not okay, and then we fetch our data and error. If there's an error, we throw another error showing unable to fetch data from the API route. We console log the data, and then we set the task to be data, and then we set the task data and the game task data to be the data that we have, and then finally we can set the loading to be false, okay? All right, so in our use effects here, we're now going to say fetch task, okay? Okay, so now if there's an error, I'm simply going to return the class name flex items center, justify center height 60 dvh, and then flex cool, and then gap 4. Okay, so here we're going to say div class name, we're going to say text center, we're going to say oops, something went wrong. Okay, then we're now going to create another button. Just uncomment this is fetching too much. Button class name, button class name btn warning btn small. Okay, nice. Okay, so over here we're mapping all individual tasks with this map function here, and we have our individual task set up. Okay, nice. So over here we can come here and uncomment this and reload. So you can see all the tasks that we have set up is now displaying. All right, so that's perfect. In our ranking, we also need to go and work on our ranking. Okay, so in our fetch users here, we're going to say try constant response top users. Okay, so our fetch top users already have that set up over here. So we have a limit of 10 users that we're fetching. So here we now say catch error set error. Here we see finally. Okay, false. All right, perfect. So here you now see fetch users. All right, so if it's loading, you can see we have a loading spinner. If we have an error, we have an error component here. And then if the length 0 will say no users were found. Okay. Okay, so we have all our users here. Perfect. Okay, so the next thing we have is our airdrop. I have our airdrop already set up for us, very simply. And then the next one we have our profile dashboard. So over here, I'm just going to close this. I'll go to dashboard. Okay, so over here, fetch referred users. And then in our use state, we're going to say fetch referred users. Okay. Okay, so we have total points earned and users referred. Oh, I've made a mistake. All right, so in this our referral link, we're just displaying the link for the user to be able to refer. So, all right, so that's set up. Let's check here. All right, so share our referral link. Everything is set up. Let's go and work on our advert slider. We'll work on the advert slider. Okay, in our advert slider, we're just fetching the data from our fetch banners function, and we're setting the banner data in our React recoil state, and we're just using effect to set that up and our loading, and then we're using a marquee slider to display each and every one of the image with on click and also the source of the logo. Okay, so we also have the users referred and the total points earned, and we also have the referral link that is set up here. So with that, we are done with our main app over here. So now we can now work on the the admin page. Okay, so we're just going to close this, open this up, and go to starter code for the admin. Okay, I'm going to increase the font here. I'm going to say npm dev. Okay, so we can see we don't have much here, so we're just going to come over here. Make sure you have your .env.local file set up like this, and that's all you really need to set up. All right, so let's go to the app. In our components, we have our wrapper, a layout wrapper, and in the layout wrapper, we have this mini start section here. So in this mini start section, okay, in the mini start section, the first thing is update data. Okay, I'm going to put here. Okay, I'm going to explain this to you guys. It's very, very simple. Now, over here, we have our title, description, and URL. You can see here in our mini start, we have the total users, the active task, banned users, right? So in here, if we come down here, you can see we have our total users, active tags, and banned users, right? So when we get the URL, if you can see, the URL is fetch banned users, fetch tags, fetch users, right? And we have that all here. So it used that to identify what are we talking about. If it's the total users, we are fetching from fetch users. If it's the tags, we're fetching from fetch tags, okay? And then we're fetching that to know what we can display to the users. So in our use effects, okay, so in our API, we're fetching the data. So if we go to our API, fetch data, fetch banned users, setup, fetch tags, and fetch users. Okay, so over here, we're just querying the user collection. In the fetch tag, we're querying the task collection. And the banned users, we're querying the users collection where active is false. So those are users that we are going to ban or are banned from using the mini app. Okay, so over here now we have API fetch data, and down here we have error component if there's any error in fetching the data. Then we have our title. Then we're setting the count to the data.length. So you can see it's loading and checking. Let me refresh this. So the total users we have is 68. The active tags we have is 4, and we have 0 banned users. So this is the dashboard showing the total stats, active user 68 and tags 4. Okay. So if we go to user rankings, we can see we don't have anything here. So what we are going to do, we're going to close this up. So this is users. So we're going to close the API routes, go to the users, the page. Okay, so because we fetch all the data already and we have the total users that we have, we can just easily access that and then just display that in a table. Okay, so over here, we're just going to paste this, which is just a table setup and which individual users. Okay, so our individual users here. Okay, so in our individual users, we're just going to show okay, so here we're just showing the individual users the points that they have when they joined and our ban icon. Okay, so you can see all the users that we've had joined the app. Perfect. So now we go over to our active task. Okay, over here we're just doing the same thing because we fetched all this data already. We're just displaying it to the users now. We fetch all the users initially from here, and we fetch the task, we fetch the users, and we fetch the ban users. So we already have that. It's just to display them in individual tasks now. Okay, so in our individual tasks, we have our delete function. If we want to delete this task, we have our delete function over here already set up. Then in our table row, we're just displaying the tags. So join Telegram group, follow partner Twitter, join the group or join the Twitter. So now we go to our create task. So in our create task, we need to set this up. So we have the title, the type of task, link, and the amount of points you want for the task. We also have to set up the submit form. In the submit form, we have set error to be nothing, and set success, and then validate the form. We have a validate function already set up in our lib folder. Then set the loading to be true, and then we can now query the fetch create task with a post. So create task here, the post already set up. Okay, perfect. Then the last but not the least, the manage ads. So we're going to close all of this. Okay, so here we're just fetching the data from the banners, and we're displaying them in each banner component, which we need to also set up. Okay, and we have that set up now. Okay, so that is perfect. Alright guys, so if you really like this video and you really love me making more videos like this, showing you guys creating different projects, different interesting projects, and sharing it to you guys on YouTube, please make sure you like and you subscribe. It really helps me grow. We've not been really doing very well in the views department, but this year I believe we can turn it around by being consistent and working hard. So really help with the like and subscribe guys. Thank you.